Hey guys, how's it going? So in this video, I'm going to show you a clean way to build search using SwiftUI and Combine, where the search logic is reactive, readable, and easy to extend. So we also moved the filter logic into a small extension so that the view model stays simple. So I'm going to show you how to do these in a very clean way so that you can take this and use it in any project you will like, right? So let me show you a little bit what we're going to be doing. So it's basically a very basic list of products, right? So these are just like Apple products, like the iPhone, iPad Air, Mac Mini. So we just have a simple list of products, and then we can search, right? So we can search for products. We can say it's the iPhone, and you can see how in real time it shows that. So let's see, iPhone 17, and then if we start typing something that's not there, it just say no products found. So now you might think this is very simple, right? And it is, but I'm going to show you because I've seen like a lot of projects and a lot of apps that don't do it very cleanly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a very clean way to actually do this, that you can take it and combine it with multiple things, do it in any project you would like. And I'm going to show it to you using Combine, which is an Apple framework that works really well. And yeah, so no more talking, let's get to the video. Right, so let me put this on the side. So the first thing that we're gonna do, as in all my videos, right? So we're gonna actually create a nice folder right here. So we're gonna do new folder, and we're gonna do core, and then inside core we're gonna have this, our main view and view model, and then I'm gonna have a new folder, and I'm gonna call this domain. So in domain we're gonna have our data models, right? So the first thing we're gonna do, let's show this again. Okay, so we're gonna move this content view into core, and we're gonna rename it. We're gonna do right click, refactor, rename. I'm gonna add the comment as well, and I'm gonna call it products view. And then I'm gonna create a new file. It's gonna be just a Swift file. You can just do Command N or right click a new file, and then this one will be products view model. This project I just started from scratch, so you just go to Xcode, create a new project. I called it product search app tutorial, but you can call it whatever you want. Choose SwiftUI, give it a name, and then you'll have this, and then you can just follow along, right? Right, so here, yeah, I have products view and view model. I'm not gonna do this for now. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our domain, and we're gonna create a new Swift file. So just do Command N, next, and then we're gonna call this Apple product. We can call it whatever you want. You can call it product and then have different types. For this example, I'm not going to make it hard on you guys, so I'm just going to make it simple and just call it Apple product, right? So remember, like if we go to right now we're just showing, we could even show only the name, right? I'm just put it so we show name and price so that it, for the sake of the example, it looks a little bit better. But yeah, basically we're going to say an Apple product. Let's make it simple. We'll have a name and a price. And the price, I'm just gonna make it an integer, right? Usually it's a double, right? Because it could be like what decimals, like the 99, like 799.99 or something like that. But for now, just make it simple. Let's make it an int. So again, we're not just going to have just some sort of string. We're gonna create it properly, right? So we're gonna do a struct Apple product, right? Even if we only had the name, I think it's usually better to just have a struct for it, right? So that we can we can have our own object, our own class and object, right? So let's do let name. This will be a string, and let's just do price. You say it defaults to double Apple Intelligence, but let's just do int to make it simple, right? Right, so now we don't have an ID for this, and since we're not getting these products from any database or anything, it doesn't have an ID, so we can just create one on the fly, right? So let's just do it like that, yeah, extension Apple product, make it conform to identifiable, and just create an ID, and the ID for now is just gonna be the name. So for now, the name is gonna be unique. Just make sure the name is unique, right? You cannot have if you have two iPhones with the same name, then that's going to create a conflict. And when you're showing it on the screen, it's going to create problems, right? So just make sure whatever you put in here is unique, right? For now, for this example, name is going to be unique. So let's do that. And also, yeah, you can do this here as well, right? And then have the ID down here. But usually for extensions, Right now we only have one, but you might have, like 10, 12 for actually building an app. You might have a lot going on. So I usually like the extensions to be separate, right? So let's say here we're conforming to identifiable. Well, this extension will be separate, right? This is how Apple usually does it. So if you go to their documentation for things, they do it this way. You have it separate like these, right? Identifiable, conform to it. Then if you're conforming to codable, you also do it separately. I see Apple Intelligence is kind of like listening to me. So you can also like do it separately and then do the confirmation right there. So I think that keeps the code very clean. And that just helps you overall, right? That's the same thing as just creating folders and creating things, right? All right, so now that we have this, I'm going to show you really quickly how to create mocks. So since we're not getting these from any database or anything, we need to create some products, right? So we're not going to be doing that on the fly in the view model. That doesn't look good, right? The view model, we're going to keep it simple. So let's actually create it since that's part of our domain, our Apple product domain, right? So let's do extension. Let's make an array of products, right? So let's just do an extension of array of Apple product, right? You can do that. Since we're not just creating one, we're creating an array, right? So we're gonna make it static so that we can access it very easily. So let's call it mocks, right? So static var mocks. That way, whenever we need an array, we can just do that mocks and then access this, right? So we don't need to create an instance of our products. That's why we make it static, because we can just, without making an instance, we can just access to it. So let's just do type self, which is, an array of our products. Let's open it up. And now we're just going to create the array. So right now it's empty. And now we can just do data net, right? And then name and a price. So let's say we can do iPhone 17 Pro Max. And then maybe the price 1,100, right? Just to make it simple. Now I'm just gonna copy what I have here. That way I'm not gonna bore you just typing all that out. Right? So yeah, just created basically a couple of iPhones, an iPad Air, Mac Mini, Apple Pencil, AirPods Max. Just remember not to have two names, like two products with the same name, because right now we have this ID to be the name. If you're gonna do that, and then you need to change the ID or just do a UUID or something just to make it different, right? Right? So now that we have this, we can go to our products view. So now our products view, if you let this load, all we have is just the hello world right here. So let's actually get rid of all of these. And now let's create a navigation stack. And we're actually doing that so that we can have our nice products right here. And as you scroll, you see that it becomes smaller in the middle, right? So yeah, in order to do that and have it very nicely, we're creating a stack. Then we're gonna creating a list. And then on the list, we can do, we're just inside the stack, we can set up a title. So let's just say products, and that's gonna be shown here. And then we're gonna be doing a couple more things, like we're gonna make it in order for the search to actually appear. We need to do that searchable. But in order to do that, we need to create the view model, because we need to pass in the binding, right? We need to pass in the actual string that's going to be here. So let's actually do that. Let's actually go here to the view model, and then let's actually create it. So instead of importing foundation, I'm going to import SwiftUI, and I'm going to import Combine as well, because we're going to be using Combine, and I'll show you in a minute. All right, so let's do final class products view model. Let's conform to observable object, because we're going to be using Combine, so we need to do this. And then let's make this view model main actor. That way, any variables that we change here that might show in the UI affect the UI. They always the programming language always do it in the main thread, so that way we're safe, because anything that touches the UI needs to be done in the main thread. So let's do that just to be safe. And now we're gonna create a couple of variables. So we're gonna create a variable called products, right? Of type, that's gonna be of type Apple product, an array of Apple product, and just initialize it, right? It's gonna start empty. And now let's create another one. Actually, not like that. It's gonna be called search text, right? And let's make it string and just make it empty, right? Just an empty string. Right, so now that we do that, let's actually create an init. So here in the init, we're gonna do the things we want to be done whenever this gets initialized. So the first thing, you know, when you see this view, this is gonna run, right? Whatever we have in here. So now let's go back into our products view and let's do a little bit more. Let's define our view model. So let's do a state object var. Actually, let's make it private var view model. And then let's just initialize our products view model right there, right? That way we have access to the variables and everything we have in our view model. Right? So now here, we're gonna make this searchable. So you see the one that has text and prompt, right? So for the text, we need to pass in the binding. So we do $ view model that search text. So whatever we have in that variable is gonna, you know, show in the search. So whatever we type in the search is gonna go to that variable, right? And then for the prompt, we're just gonna say search. That's just a placeholder, search products. So you can see right here at the bottom of the screen, now we can see search products. You know, it's the same thing we have in the final app, right? Search products right there. It looks really nice, right? All right, so now we have this list right here. So what we can do is that, yeah, we can do a for each. Let's do a for each, and let's say view model that products, right? And let's open braces and let's do product. And so it's good that we conform to identifiable. That way we don't need to provide an ID here. It just gets it automatically, right? All right, so now let's do an H tag. And we cannot see that because we don't have any products. But if we go to the view model and then right here we say products equals, now you can say that, and then you see how you can access the mocks. You can say mocks. So now the first thing that it's going to do is it's gonna set it to mocks. So now we should actually get some products. Now you see it's just empty because we just have an H tag that's empty. So now for the H tag, let's just give it a minimum spacing of 5 just in case, but we're gonna be doing on a spacer because we want the name here and the price here, right? All right, so let's do text. Let's give it some text. That's gonna be the product, that name, of course. We're gonna be doing a spacer, and then let's do some text again. Let's open a string and let's do $, right? And then let's embed the price. So since that's an int, product that price, right? That, right? And then let's just give it some formatting, right? So let's make it gray just so that it looks a little bit better. There you go. Right, so that's already looking good. So now, now that we have that, as you can see, yeah, we have this fully working. Now let's actually run that. Let's close these and let's run it. Let's do Command R, or you can go ahead and tap on the play button and then run it. Now it succeeded. So now let's see if it shows up, right? Right, really nice. Now you see all the products, but now when you go here, right, you cannot, if you try to search, it's actually registering that in the view model and the search text, but we're not doing anything with that. So we're just always showing like all the products, right? Right. So let's get rid of these for a second. And now, here's what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna go to the view model, and now we're gonna do like all the magic, right? And so we need to start actually doing what we want, right? So we are gonna create. So I don't like having this like these pieces of code, right, floating around, even if it's one line, because right now it could be one line, but then later it could be 4 lines, 5, 6, and then you don't, you know, sometimes you lose track of what you're doing, right? So in order to keep everything more organized, I like to have things in functions, right? And the function can have a really useful name on what we're actually doing, right? So let's do private func. Let's do get products. Right, so right now, all we're doing to get the products is just basically saying products equal mocks, right? And then we're gonna call this function right here. So what are we doing? We're just getting the products, right? Getting the products is this right here. If later we want to do, call a database for the data, then we already have this function, right? It'll be inside this function, not in the init, because the init can do different things, right? Right, so now let's actually get into the combine search so that we're listening for that. So what we need to do, right, just summarizing it a little bit. So we need to listen for the search text, right? So if this changes, if the search text changes, which means the user is typing something and now it's different and that variable now becomes different, we need to listen for that. When that happens, we need to filter the products, right? We need to filter the products. Now, what's going to happen? We cannot filter this products that we have here, because if we filter those products, then how do we know then all the products again? We have to get them again. And right now it's not expensive, right? Because we have that mux. But imagine just getting all the products from the database. Now you filter them, right? Because the user typed in a letter, right? Let's say the user types in a P. So then now you filter all the products. But then if they type in an age, now you don't have all the products because you just filter them, right? So now you need to go to the database, get all the products again, filter them again. But we don't want to do that, right? So we always want to keep track of all the products in a variable, right? These are all the products. We only get them once. And then we want to keep track of the current products, which is the products we're actually showing in the screen, right? So those can be filtered, right? So let me show you that, right? So yeah, we have this products right here. So I'm going to create another one and I'm going to call this current products, right? And this is the one we're going to show on the screen. So this one will hold all the products, and this one will actually, these will be the product that show on the screen, right? So if we have any filtering, sorting, whatever, this will be the one having that, and this is just all the products. And these technically could change as well, because let's say you're doing some API call to get new products, from your database. If products change, then it's the same as if the search text changes, right? So something changed. So we need to see and update our UI, right? So that's what we're going to be doing. So let's create a function. Let's make it private because we're not so any function that you're not accessing from the view, just make it private, or just make a private extension and put them there. That way, keep everything secure, right? So let's do set subscribers. And I'm going to explain this in a second. But here, using combine, what we can do is we can do $ products, right? So now we're listening for products, right? So whenever products change, we're gonna fall into this, and then we're gonna add another one. So the way you add another one is you do combine latest, and then you can add multiple here. So now we can do $ search text. So what are we doing here? We're saying if any of these two of the products and the search text, if any of those two changes, we're gonna do something, right? We're gonna do something. So if the search text changes, meaning the user is like typing something, so we need to refresh our current products. If the products changes, meaning our whole overall products changed, so now we need to again do this whole thing because we might have less or more products, right? Right. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna receive it. I'm going to receive it on dispatch, say dispatch queue. That's just to make sure we actually receive it in the main thread, right? And then what we do in combine, we have something called sync. So we can do this and then tap enter. So when you do sync, basically what you're saying is we're going to get the new, so let's say these two changes or one of them changed. Now we get the refresh ones, right? So let's say the search text from the P, now it's a P and an H. Now here we get the search text with the P and an H, right? So we get the latest of products and search text after the change. So basically we say products, comma, search text. Right, so that's what we have. So now we're getting the latest products and the latest search text. And now we're going to do something with it, right? We're going to do some computation. Now, I'm going to do this weak self right here. So weak self. And I'm doing this because I don't want to create any strong reference to this. So it's always good practice whenever you have a completion like these, right? Always put in the weak self so you don't create a strong reference. And the only thing that's going to create is here you need to unwrap the self, which is the overall view, right? The overall class, you need to unwrap it. So let's just do let self, because self is going to be optional, right? When you do weak self, then self becomes optional. So you will have to do, let's say you want to access products, you will need to do self, and then you need to do optional current products. So in order to not do that every time, we can just do let self else return, right? So basically, this is never gonna fall into this, right? But yeah, you're doing this so that way you're making sure self actually exists, and now you can access all the variables because you know for sure that product's ViewModel exists, right? So what are we doing here, right? Now we're updating. Now we have the products, right? And the search text, everything updated. So now we need to update the current products, right? So in order to update the current products, right now what we're doing is just filtering, right? Now you could technically do the filtering logic here, but again, like it's not too clean, it's not too of a good practice, right? So in order to make it work really nicely, what we're going to do is we're going to do that logic in our domain, because that filter logic can be very different, right? For each of our, data models. Like for in this example, Apple products, we're only doing the name, right? For this example, we're only doing the name. For many others, it might be like a different thing, or you might want to add different stuff to it later. So what we're gonna do, this is gonna be this filter logic is it's something very specific to this Apple product, right? Data model that we have. So we're not gonna do it in the ViewModel because maybe we need it somewhere else, right? In another ViewModel, in another service, and then we need to do it again in that other service. So we're not gonna do that. This is something that's owned by the Apple product. So that's something I'm just teaching you in this video. It's always good to just have it, tied to this. Since we're filtering Apple product, we're gonna do it right here. So let's create an extension of the array of Apple product, right? And then we're gonna call in, so whenever we have an array of Apple product, I'm gonna call so that we can access a function called filtered, right? So filter, and then let's just do by search text, and this will be a string, right? And this will return the same thing, an array of Apple product, right? So what are we doing here? We're creating a function that, so whenever you have an Apple product array, you can access this function. You have the array, you can do that filtered, right? Passing the search text. And then when you pass in the search text, then we do all the filtering and you get back the array of Apple product with the filter products, right? So maybe you had 10, now you get back 2, right? So this is what we're doing. First thing we do is edge cases. So we make sure, so we do guard, make sure that the search text it's not empty, right? Else return self. So basically we're saying if the search text is empty, like right now it's empty, we're gonna return all the products, right? So we just basically return self being the array of Apple product, right? So that's what we're doing. Then it's very easy. We're just gonna say return self that filter, right? So let's actually close that and open braces, and we're gonna do 0, meaning the current item, right? Name, let's do lowercase, because yeah, need to like check for like maybe you're typing in this uppercase, lowercase, so we don't want to deal with any of that. So just make sure the lowercase matched both lowercases, right? So we're gonna do contains search text, also lowercase. So we're gonna lowercase both. We're gonna lowercase the name and we're gonna lowercase the search text, whatever we're searching. We want to make sure that matches. If it matches, it'll return it. If not, it will not, right? So that's what we're doing. So now that we have that piece of logic, we can go back into our ViewModel, right? Very nicely. And now we can, actually we're gonna put it again in a new function. So we're gonna create a private func. I'm gonna say update current products, right? And in order to update that, we need to do from products. So we need to pass in the updated products from products, and let's do an array of Apple product. And then let's pass in the search text, which will be a string. So then right here, all we're doing is we're calling that, right? So we're gonna do update current products from the latest products, and we're giving it the search text, right? All right, so we're good. So all we're doing now is we're setting the current products equal to the products, right? But we're filtering. We're doing the filter by that we just created, which is this one right here, and we're passing in the search text. So as you can see, we're not doing the logic, right? Right here, we're not doing the filter by, and then what do we do with this? What do we do with that? We do that in the domain, in the Apple product data model. And then here, all we need to do, we have here an array of Apple products. we just do call our function that we created, filter by search tags, and this takes care of it, right? So we're not doing that in the ViewModel. And anywhere else we need it, we can just do the same thing. And then here, so now we need to do, I'm going to explain this in a second. So we need to do store, and we need to create a private var cancellables, and that's going to be a set of any cancelable in it. So we don't even have to, we can just go ahead and do it like this, right? Just to make it simpler. This is unexpected pattern, and that's because we're just going to initialize it, not just giving it a type. There you go. So whenever you create, and this, just going to do cancellables right here. So whenever you're using Combine and you create a subscription like these, right? You're subscribing to products and search tags and waiting for any of them to change to do something. So whenever you do that, you need to put that subscription, store it somewhere, right? So now we're storing it in cancellables. That's just a convention to call it cancellables, because you store it there. So yeah, so that in any case, if you want to cancel those subscriptions, you can just go ahead and call this cancellables and then remove them, right? And then you're not going to be listening to those anymore. So yeah, you need to do that every time, right? So that's basically all you need to do about that. And then here, yeah, again, it's a subscription. So we're subscribing to products and search tags. Whenever any of those two change, we're going to receive it in the main thread, and we're going to get those values. So we're going to get the latest products, latest search tags. We're going to unwrap this products view model to make sure that it exists. And then we're going to call this function update current products with the newest products and newest search tags. And then this function will update the current products, which those products are the ones we're going to actually show on the screen. Which is basically products that we're filtering using the search tags, right? And we have this in our data model Apple product, right? So that's actually looking pretty good. Let's go back to our view and let's see some of the stuff actually running. So now, this view model, our products, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do current products. Let's actually refresh this. And now you're going to see that current products is, it starts. Actually, no, wait. If you go to our view model, I think we're missing something. So we made this function, but we're not calling it. So let's do it before the get products. That way, when we get the products, this will get triggered, right? This will get triggered, and it'll set the current products. Because remember, you need to set the current products, right? Here, you only set in products. So yeah, let's do that first. So here in get products, this will get triggered because products is going to change from empty to now having all the products. This will run and it'll end up, setting the current products, right? Because we have an empty string, it's going to get into the guard that we put in, and it's going to just show all the products. So now if we go here, that's all we see. Now we say view model at current products. Now you see right here, if refresh, now it's showing all the products, right? So let's actually create, so, I don't know if you remember, but we had a state for when, we're searching and we don't have any products. So let's do that. Let's do a var empty state view, right? So let's do some view. I usually like putting things in variables so that way we don't have a lot of stuff in here, right? So here we only have like the higher hierarchy, right? So, the views, and you can kind of make everything very readable, right? And then for all these details, you can just put them in like a different view. All right, so let's do not products found, right? We can just do that. This doesn't need to be uppercase. So not products found. Let's do 3 dots, something like that, right? So now in this list, now we can do if view model that current products is empty, right? We're gonna do the empty state view, else we're gonna do, let's create another right here, and let's do var current products view, some view, right? So let's open that, and let's actually move all these logic, right? Let's go here, current products view, and let's move all of these here, right? So now I'm going to add an animation so that it looks a little bit nicer. So make sure you choose the one with the animation and value. And then here we're just going to do easy in, right? And the value will be ViewModel that current products that count. So whenever the count of current products change, we're just going to animate it a little bit, right? So it doesn't look too abrupt, right? It just since we're changing the things that are in the list, right? Right, and that'll be all. You see now here we have a list, right? And then we're basically saying we have an empty state. We're saying if the current product is empty, we show the empty state, which is not products found. And then if now we show current products view, and then this is right here. You see how here it's very readable. You see what you're actually showing. So it's not like it's not like we get all this thing and then put it in a separate variable, because then here we have no information at all. So you want to keep some information, but like the overall kind of like hierarchy of views. And then for the details, right, if you want to see what this is, you can come in here and then see that. All right, so now that I've explained everything, let's actually run it. Let's do Command R, or you can tap in the play button. And then when you run it, now, as promised, now you see all the functionality. You see how the products get loaded, right? So basically, if we go into here, first thing we do is set the subscribers. So this will not do anything, just set it, put it in place. Then we're getting the products, right? We're getting this mux. Then when we get this will get triggered because products updated, right? And then we're going to do all of these. We're going to set the current products. For now, it's going to be all of them. And then when we start searching, this variable is going to change. So this will get triggered, and then we'll go through all of these again, which will make, at the end of the day, it will make the current, at the end of it, will make the current products change as well. And then that'll trigger the UI, and then it'll show the current products basically, right? All right, so let's go back to the app and let's test it, right? So now you can tap on it and say iPhone, and now you see how everything searches. And then if we search for something that we don't have, it'll say product not found. We start deleting, it'll show again. If you tap on the X, then it'll go back to like showing all the products, right? Right, so I think hopefully you got some really good insight in this video. I wanted to show you how to do a search using Combine and make it really cleanly. And now you can combine this with a bunch of other stuff, right? So in this ViewModel, if you're doing a sorting, right, you can also do it in the Combine latest to add the variable you have for the sorting, or anything else you're going to do. You can do things like that. You can combine not only 2, you can do 3, you can do 4, as many as you want. And when any of those change, you're going to trigger something. Now, again, when you're combining stuff, just make sure they're related, right? If not, you can just create another subscription right below for anything else that you're going to do. But I think this is very good information, very good for you to know, as we're doing things very cleanly in this channel, on this video. So yeah, if you like the video, please give it a like and subscribe. That'll help out the channel a lot. And then I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.